If you've ever typed in abs workout into the YouTube search bar, you know that you'll be presented with a myriad of choices. There are literally thousands and thousands of at-home ab workouts on the platform. And most of these workouts have at least a couple hundred thousands, if not even millions of views. So that implies these workouts are worth doing, right? Wrong. These workouts are often ineffective and also dangerous, and in this video, I'll tell you why. But first of all, to explain why these videos are ineffective, we first have to define what is necessary in order to get visible abs. First of all, you need to have muscular abs in order to have something that you can show off. However, and probably more importantly, you need to have a low body fat percentage in order to actually see those abs. How low of a body fat percentage that is depends on several factors, such as your gender and also where you predominantly store fat. So if you're a person who has most of their fat around their hips, then you might have visible abs with a higher body fat percentage compared to a person who predominantly stores their fat around the belly. And in order to be effective, these ab workouts have to achieve exactly these two things. Increase muscle mass of your abs, or more specifically the rectus abdominis for a visible six-pack, and also reduce body fat percentage. So let's have a closer look if these ab workouts actually do those two things. Just by scrolling through, we'll notice that most of these ab workouts are between 5 and 15 minutes long. They usually include a variety of exercises with no repetitions, and they usually have little to no break between the different exercises. So when it comes to the first point, building muscular abs, these workouts are somewhat effective, but certainly not optimal. The length of the workout is actually okay, because I would personally recommend to train your abs between 5 to 10 minutes a day, and most of these workouts actually fall into that range. However, when it comes to exercise selection, some of the exercises are actually pretty good and pretty effective for building abs. However, there are other exercises that are not so effective. And to understand why certain exercises are more effective than others, we have to know the function of the rectus abdominis muscle. The function of this muscle is to bring your chest closer to your pelvis. So in that sense, its function is to do this crunching motion. And that's why exercises like crunches and their variations, such as bicycle crunches, are generally good exercises for building your abs. However, other exercises like the standing ab crunches and the lying leg raises are not very effective for building your abs because they do not shorten the distance between your chest and your pelvis. Also, with these exercises, other muscles like the hip flexors are also involved, which takes away from the abs even more. The last thing that is maybe not optimal for muscle growth is that you perform each exercise back to back with no break in between. I do understand why these content creators include little to no rest between the exercises, because that will make your abs burn and hurt a lot, so you are left feeling that this workout must have achieved something. However, it's important to remember that just because you're hurting it doesn't mean you're working it. This burning sensation when you do every exercise back to back with no rest in between stems from the accumulation of metabolites, such as lactic acid. And this metabolic stress actually does play a role in building muscle mass. However, the most important factor when it comes to building muscle mass is mechanical tension. However, because we do not use weights in these workouts, we cannot progressively add more mechanical tension as we do the workout over and over again. Another problem I have with taking little to no rest between the exercises is that your abs will fatigue very quickly, and that means several things. First of all, you might have to skip an exercise or your form might break down. And third, other muscles like your lower back or the hip flexors might take over. And all of these things make the workout as a whole less effective. And also, when looking at sports science, research actually suggests that we should take at least 60 seconds, so a full minute of rest between two exercises in order to fully recover and optimize muscle growth. Now that we've established that these workouts will lead to some muscle growth, but they might not be optimal, let's have a look at the second factor, which is reducing body fat percentage. In order to lose weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit. However, there's only so many calories that you can burn within 10 minutes. Because most of these ab workouts are very low intensity and you only train your abs in isolation, I'd guess that you probably don't burn more than 30 to 50 calories within these 10 minutes. So just by doing these workouts, it's very hard to create this caloric deficit that is needed for fat loss. Another problem I have with these YouTube workouts is that their titles, their thumbnails, and even their description boxes imply that by doing these ab exercises, you will burn belly fat, which is simply not true. The site of fat loss is determined by genetics and other factors that you have no influence on whatsoever. So no matter how many crunches and planks and sit-ups and leg raises you do, you cannot specifically target fat loss in the abdominal area. And this actually brings me to my second point, which is that I think these ab workouts are dangerous for some people. Not in the sense that you will physically hurt yourself. However, I think by the way these workouts are marketed to you via their titles and thumbnails, they can pose a significant risk to your mental and psychological health. And that's because these workouts promote very unrealistic expectations, namely that by doing these workouts for a certain period of time, you will look like this influencer and have visible abs. However, unless you start out with a very low body fat percentage to begin with, or unless you're in a really aggressive caloric deficit, you won't get the results as promised by these videos. And this might send you down a rabbit hole of negative self-beliefs, self-doubt, insecurities about your own body, thinking that something is wrong with you, while in fact something is wrong with the workout and how it was promoted, not with you. And the thing that really drives me up the wall is that most of these influencers actually know what they're doing, because some of them even have a disclaimer at the very end of their description box saying that you cannot get visible abs within that stated time frame unless you do cardio or in a caloric deficit, do some resistance exercise on the side, and they even acknowledge that the spot reduction of fat that they literally promote in the title and in the thumbnail doesn't exist. So clearly these influencers know what they're doing and they are deliberately marketing these workout videos in a very clickbaity way. As a content creator myself, I do understand that sometimes you need to have clickbaity titles and thumbnails to be successful on the YouTube machinery. And I also acknowledge that these influencers, in part also because of their clickbaity thumbnails and titles, get a lot of people moving and exercising, which is a really good thing, especially with obesity rates rising all over the world. However, I think there must be a limit as to how far someone can go in terms of clickbaitiness, especially when the physical and mental health of the consumers of these videos is at stake. I also have a second point why I think these workouts have a dangerous component to them, and that's because they promote the narrative that you must have a visible six-pack in order to be fit, healthy, and beautiful, which is not the case. And especially as a woman, having a visible six-pack requires you to have a rather low body fat percentage. And to get to and maintain this low body fat percentage, that might require that you engage in some unhealthy eating and exercising behaviors. So just because someone has visible abs doesn't automatically mean they're healthy. I'm not saying that you should not have visible abs and this is not something you should strive for. If this is your goal, then by all means go for it. I'm just saying that it is not a requirement for qualifying as fit and healthy. And also, if you want to have visible abs, there are more effective ways than to do these workout videos. More specifically, I would train abs just like any other muscle. So I would train them maybe 2 to 3 times a week, and instead of training them separately, I would add maybe 1 or 2 exercises at the end of my regular workouts, do 2 to 3 sets per exercise, and choose a rep scheme that brings you 1 to 4 reps close to failure. And if that sounds too complicated to you with picking this rep scheme, then just do as many reps as possible, so you just literally do the exercise until you can't do it any longer. That's for the muscle building part for your abs. However, to also see them, you need to be in a caloric deficit so that you will reduce your body fat percentage over time, and eventually you will also lose fat around your belly. But there you have it, my reasons why I do think these YouTube ab workouts are ineffective and also dangerous, and how I would go about getting visible abs. If you liked the video at any point, then give me a huge thumbs up. Also hit the subscribe button down below. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!